You're listening to Shaye Ganam, QR Calgary.
So, continuing to keep a close eye on the situation in the Middle East. And like I say, there's all this talk about let's not see it spiral, let's not see it escalate. I think that's too late for that. It's already spiraling and it's already escalating. How far it goes remains to be seen. But already the deadliest day in Lebanon, going back 18 years since the 34-day war in 2006. And a lot of this really took off. As we heard from the caller before, it's been going back and forth for, basically a year almost now. And Israel has increased their attacks, their airstrikes, and those sorts of responses over recent weeks. And then last week, we saw the remarkable intelligence effort where on the Tuesday, pagers that were being carried by Hezbollah operatives in Lebanon suddenly were remotely detonated and exploded, and a number of people were killed, including, innocent bystanders. That was also part of this story. But then the next day, after the pagers were all gone, walkie-talkies that Hezbollah operatives were using started exploding as well. So you had a situation where people in Lebanon were wondering what might be next. Will something be next? It's obviously very, very concerning. And a lot of people are talking about, how far can this go? I don't know if there's any reason for us to be concerned, but it's an interesting conversation in terms of how is an operation like this carried on and what else could possibly be done. So we're going to have a conversation now with Hadis Karimipour, who is a Canada Research Chair in Secure and Resilient Cyber Physical Systems at the University of Calgary. Hadis, thanks so much for joining us. I really do appreciate your time.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
It is an interesting conversation. As somebody who studies this kind of thing, were you surprised by this series of attacks? Has it ever even been theoretically proposed or talked about, or was it news to you too?
It's not something that I'm surprised about, because what the technology that you're talking about here is a low-tech technology that Hezbollah was using, these pagers and walkie-talkie, because they are not you cannot track them. They're using anonymous form of communication, and that was something they were looking for. But at the same time, basically the supply chain for these devices, the fact that they were having very low-tech made it possible for people to infiltrate the supply chain, add some sort of explosive circuit inside the device, and then remotely control the device. So it's not something technically very difficult. The whole point is coming from the fact that the device is a low-tech one, and the supply chain is not like a supply chain with high-quality control.
And that is the key point, and that's what we need to remember when we wonder about where this could go. The biggest part was actually infiltrating the supply chain, having a way of doing that.
Yes, that was the main issue.
In terms of, where it might go, I've heard people worrying, in Lebanon, there were people unplugging baby monitors and refrigerators, and I've heard other people saying, hey, my goodness, maybe my cell phone could be an explosive device. Mm-hmm. What's the risk of that in realistic terms?
It's completely understandable for people to worry about some things like that. But the point is that what most of the people here in this case is like someone remotely control the device and basically send a signal to for example, the battery of the pager, and it was exploded. But it's not that easy. It's a lot more complex than simply sending a signal to overheat or basically detonate a smartphone, I would say. There are many different reasons, and the simplest one is that our smartphone have basically multiple security measures that designs and prevent this kind of scenario, like thermal sensors. If the device is overheated, it will shut down. And generally, about a smartphone, which is the main concern of the people, there are different, basically, the supply chain is totally different. We are dealing with a large manufacturer with high quality control, with lots of security measures in place, and basically vendors that are responsible about their software update. They regularly patch for vulnerabilities, send update for the software, and it's really unrealistic to assume that someone can step in all these steps through the supply chain, quality control, security audit, and bypass all of them. So it's technically possible, but unlikely to happen for something like a smartphone. But at the same time, we have other devices. Like, I know people are concerned about laptop, IoT devices, wearable devices. All of them have different type of vulnerability, like malware, ransomware, different things. So technically, everything is possible, but it's not something easy to happen in our everyday life.
Like you say, I mean, technically it's possible and it's not that hard to do, but at some point in time, somebody needs to get their hands on that device to put the explosives into it. And like you say, if you're buying a phone from, I don't know, Samsung or Apple or something like that, that supply chain's pretty tight. It's going to, at the manufacturing, it's really difficult to do.
Exactly, yeah. It's not like that you can, even because these devices are waterproof, you cannot easily open and add something. Right. But the case of pager and walkie-talkie, it's like a very simple device. You can easily open it, add something, and the device would work normally because they basically have limited capability. But that's not the issue with a smartphone or laptop or other devices.
What about, and I don't know, this is just another theoretical, a hypothetical, I guess, and I had listeners phoning last week saying, you know what, this makes me think like Chinese electric vehicles. I mean, who knows if they want, I mean, it's a question of they could, but the bigger question is would they and why would they, but that's possible too, right?
Yeah. Honestly, we're living in a scary world and everything is possible. Yeah.
But realistically
everything
speaking,
is digitalized,
we're probably far more at risk of, like you say, some sort of cyber attack in terms of malware, ransomware, something like that, far more than our devices exploding in our pockets.
Yeah, exactly. The majority concern with the devices that we're using is related to like phishing email that we receive every day, and we just click in the link. It will lead to malware installed in our device, so someone can spy, read our information, track our information, and maybe collect our personal information and personal data. These are basically the major issue that we are facing, rather than being concerned about our device being exploded.
Yeah, so it's not something you're worried about.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. It's not something easy. As I said, it's technically possible, but as ordinary people, it's better to be more concerned regarding our data and how we protect our devices to ensure safety of the device, physical safety of the device, and security of our data, rather than being worried about it.
Exactly, yeah. Great stuff. Hadis, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you being with us.
Thank you very much.